With respect to firearms, I'm an NRA member. I'm an NRA rifle instructor, certified rifle instructor. I've been a rifle instructor for about 6 years. I've taught many people. Let's see, what else? I've owned firearms for about 18 years. No, sorry, about 20 years. It's been 20 years I've owned firearms right after I got married. I've shot firearms before that. It's a little bit of background.
Do you feel that Initiative 1639 poses any specific threats to gun rights and law-abiding citizens?
So I look at it as like death by 1,000 cuts. So I have read the initiative. You repeated a summary for me, but I honestly think any initiative is always infringing on any right. Having said that, there are rules, laws put in place to protect people, and there are situations where that makes sense. Like, for example, I can't go shoot out in my neighborhood. It's stupid, right? Somebody would get hurt. I can't drive 100 miles an hour in my neighborhood either. So having rules, requirements, let's say, that you have to adhere to keep you and others safe, I think is a good thing. That doesn't answer your question. Having said that, in this case, my only fear is that living in Washington State, and given just especially how even more polarized politics have become with, it's been progressively getting there, and now it's gotten pretty extreme. I'd be very concerned that the abuse of it, like, that's my main concern. My main concern about the abuse, like, I have firearms, I always secure them. Dylan will tell you, I always secure my firearms, and the kids don't know the code. Regardless of that, having said that, the point is that people who are conscientious firearm owners are already going to be securing their firearms. I do think it should be a requirement that you do secure by law. I think if you buy a firearm, you have to have some sort of proof you do have a safe to put in it. I think that's a good thing. I also think that classes, lessons that go over the laws, that go over laws, super critical, and how to be safe around firearms, forget even shooting them. I'd be more for this if everybody was required to take a firearm safety class, not one where you have to touch it. Well, you would touch it, just get familiar, but not where you have to shoot, right? You're not taking it to learn how to use a firearm. You're taking it to figure out what are the smart things I can do to keep, as an individual, a child up to adult, as an individual in groups, to keep people safe. If that was in there, I'd be way more for it.
I'm pretty sure it is.
No, this would be a requirement for everybody. Like, it's something to be taught in school.
I don't think
yeah. That's not in there.
Okay.
Having said that, as a firearm instructor, specifically for rifle and the NRA, it is the first, they've changed the curriculum recently, but the first full day and half the next day is just about safety. It's all about safety. It's drilled into everybody before you even put a bullet in a gun and shoot it. And I've used that to teach my son, all my sons, and other people, obviously, and I see the value in it. So having said that, I think it's a good idea. I just don't trust Washington State government to be reasonable about it.
In what ways do you feel Initiative 1639 may impact violent crime? Do you think that'll help?
It'll have zero impact on violent crime, in the sense of it's not gonna. So here's the thing I don't like about this law. It's a law that law-abiding citizens are going to follow. So it's a total lie to yourself and everybody else if you think it's going to stop crime. Where it will help is if somebody does, it'll help, but it's not perfect. It'll help if somebody breaks into your house and does a smash and grab and runs and ransacks your house, where, if it's in, my safe weighs almost 600 pounds. And so people can move it, right? You can bolt them to the floor. But if it wasn't bolted to the floor, you can move it. It's 600 pounds. It's not that easy to move. But you do have smaller safes that, a 50-pound safe or less, you can get ones even lighter than that. There will be guns in them. It's not going to stop them from getting stolen. It'll be a slight deterrent, but not much. And that's the reality. And so anyway, and people who want to commit a crime, they're not going to lock up their guns. They're not going to give a flying fuck. Probably should edit that out, bleep that out. They're just not. and that is just insanity to think that it would.
How do you think Initiative 1639 will help protect Washington's citizens? Or how do you think Initiative
let me
1639
first.
will hurt
Okay, well, let's go
Washington's
first.
law-abiding citizens?
I think people, it's going to help where only in the homes where people are law-abiding citizens. In those homes where if you do have people, because I do know people who don't lock up their firearms, that if you do have people in that situation, then I think it's a good thing because, if they have kids, grandkids, or just people who don't know how to handle them, then it's a good thing. The potential harm is twofold in my mind. The more, it's like alcohol in teenagers. Oh, alcohol, don't, get you in trouble and make mistakes. And, and it becomes this thing that they want to do because you hide it, but you know what I mean? You keep it from them and they get punished if they touch it or whatever the hell. So they get in these habits of where if they do get access to it, they'll binge drink it, which is very, very dangerous. So what I'm trying to say by that is, in the course of this, forget even if this was a law or not. But now that it is a law, I hope what happens is that people still educate others, and they don't end up treating it in such a way, evil, and without, you educate people. It's like when you started driving. Right? I didn't prevent you from driving. Was it scary as hell? Oh my God, yeah. But what I did, I gave you the freedom, but you took a class that explained how to be safe. And what I just talked about with you mostly is I talked about basic things to keep you and others safe, so nobody gets harmed physically or financially. So I don't know if I'm not doing a good job explaining, but the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think firearms should be a mystery or ooh, evil, bad. I mean, people should realize they are dangerous, that you can't, once you pull that trigger, you can't stop the bullet, call it back, oops, right, it's gone. And who knows what it's gonna hit. Having said that, I think everybody should be required to understand, it's like driving a car, right? It's this machine, it's a dangerous machine. If you use it appropriately within the rules, and everybody else does, then you'll be safe. Anyway, I went on a tangent. So that's where I think there's potential harm. The other harm, which is a very valid thing, and people say, oh, well, whatever, how long does it take, is being able to access it immediately. And that's the other thing that's kind of weird. Like, what if I have a carry permit? What if I come home, set my firearm, I just take it out and set it down, I unload it and I just set it down. Like, the second it comes to the house, how much time do I have before? Anyway, there's just going to be abuse. That's all. The way it's going to harm the law-abiding citizen, because somebody, will, like I said, they're cleaning the gun. They're going to knock on the door. I walk in the door, or how about this? I've had to knock on the door at 1 a.m. So I brought my firearm and I set it off to the side. It happened to be a police officer. So now in that case, our alarm went off hours before and they never showed up. So they showed up hours later, whatever. Anyway, the point is that I don't, I can't remember what I was saying about that police officer that was in Duval. You'll have to edit this. Dylan, what was I saying? I don't remember. I'm just trying to get to the point, you're really left up to the officer's discretion. And you can't trust officers. There are good officers, I've met them. But officers have bad days, and there are skis-ball officers, that's the reality. And so that's the other thing that drives me nuts about people who want this. It's like they don't understand. Okay, when I say the people who want this, I'm very much generalizing this. But it's more typically going to be people who are anti-gun. That's who's going to be behind this. And typically those individuals are also anti-law enforcement. I think having an axe to grind with law enforcement, not really enjoying them, is a universal political party thing, but at different varying degrees. The point I'm trying to make is that they want to give all the power to an entity that they don't inherently trust. So that to me is just weird. I don't understand that. Anyway, the other thing I think it'd be a wiser law. First of all, just make everybody go through education. Everybody, they don't have to shoot it. They could choose. Yeah, maybe I do want to learn how to shoot, but no, I just want to learn how to be safe. Anyway,
Have you ever used a firearm or had any safety training?
yeah, I teach people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you support the Second Amendment?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Would you / did you consider purchasing a rifle when you turned 18?
So no, because I left the country for 2 years. Yes, I did consider. When I was 12, my dad said, "Do you want a 22 or a cat?" And I chose the cat. I regretted that. It was only after I had come home from being out of the States and got married a few years later. I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm an adult now." So yeah,
Awesome.
lots of guns.